So we'll just start briefly recalling that we are motivated to engage in this practice and attend this class and practice Buddhism in order to remove all the obstacles to achieve the highest state of existence. So it's a big goal, thankfully, with little baby steps along the way. But our motivation still is always focused on the sincere wish to eliminate all of our faults and cultivate all of the positive qualities so that we can interact in a beneficial way with all beings. So it's bodhicitta, that combination of compassion and the wish to purify all of your negativity so that you can more effectively act from that place of sincere, authentic compassion, spontaneously. So that's our motivation. And aren't we lucky to be together sharing that? Wow. So we'll just say the prayers. We'll do the Tibetan. Sangye Chodan Soki Chokram La Chantu Badu Dagni Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chenyen Mugi Pe Samanam Ki Rola Penshir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chodan Soki Chokram La Chanchu Bardu Dagni Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chinyo Hibe Sonam Ki Rola Penchir Sangye Ruparsho Sangye Chodam Soki Chodnam La Chanchu Bardu Dagni Kyapsu Chi Dagi Chinyo Hibe Sonam Ki Roll and cheers on Guru Show. So now refresh a visualization of the Buddha Shakyamuni in front of you and all of the lineage gurus. In addition, add all the sentient beings in every direction and feel your close karmic bond with the sentient beings who you have the privilege of encountering in this and all lifetimes as their child, as their mother. In every form of relationship, we're deeply connected. So we'll say the four immeasurables with that in mind, surrounded by, the Buddhas and in the presence of Shakyamuni and our teachers and gurus. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So just imagine what that's like. Now, especially thinking about and visualizing, recalling in front of you Buddha Shakyamuni And especially right in front of Buddha Shakyamuni is your own guru. That will just simplify it like that. All the lineage teachings, method and wisdom, compassion and wisdom, all the consecrated practices, they're all present and appearing consolidated in one form in the Buddha Shakyamuni with your guru seated in front of Buddha Shakyamuni. And to this presence, we will dedicate the lines of the seven limbs, seven limb prayer. Reverently, I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. I declare all my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the merits of all holy and ordinary beings. These remain until samsara ends, and turn the wheel of dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate the merit created by myself and others to great enlightenment. And then also to, in the presence of this assembly that we just were recollecting, and especially for the gift of the Dharma, we're going to do we're going to dedicate this mandala offering as a reflection of our sincere effort to be part of the ongoing transformation of samsara into nirvana, to be part of the transformation by transforming ourselves into this purified realm that we're about to visualize with these lines of the mandala. And so we'll say it in English so that we have a visualization of a purified realm. This ground, anointed by perfume and strewn with flowers, adorned by Mount Meru, the four continents, sun, and the moon. I imagine it as a Buddha field and offer it. May all beings enjoy this pure land. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. And then in conclusion of this opening, just draw all of that into the crown of your head and bring all of the intention and reflection into your heart as we listen to Christopher's amazing presentation.
Whoa, showtime! Christopher's amazing presentation. Let's lower those expectations.
Well, yeah, look, I don't know.
We've been talking about, or Nagarjuna has been talking about what he's calling the two collections of merit and wisdom. And merit, you could say, is love and compassion in action. It kind of would represent what they call the method wing of the path, or the compassion, they sometimes call it. Yeah.
Merritt, did you have your hand raised intentionally? Okay, just checking. I just lowered it for you.
And then wisdom, of course, is the wisdom that understands the nature of what our existence actually is. It is an interconnected, interdependent, dependently co-arising, non-dual existence, which is at the present moment, unless we've had a direct experiential realization of that primordial mind, the clear light mind, then we don't really have the intellectual capacity to totally grasp what that means, what non-duality, what dependently co-arising. We can, and in the past we have many times used conceptions to try and get ourselves to that point and see the logic of it. Because it makes absolute sense when you look at it. So that the idea is that the subject and object really are not two separate things. They are codependently arising together at the same time. And we're very, very intimately connected with everything that comes into our awareness. more than we realize. So those are those two wings. We're talking about the collection of merit and the collection of wisdom. Wisdom actually makes the merit wing work. It is the logic behind why we would be loving, why would we be compassionate, because we are so intimately connected with everything. We don't realize that yet, but the realization we can get to the point where we do realize that. So that's what these sessions are about. So this week, after Nagarjuna explained these two great collections of merit and wisdom, he's now showing us how we can build them in real life, how we can build them in our life. So he's outlining here in this section, he's outlining practical actions that create powerful goodness in the world. Remember, he's in this context, he's talking to a king. He's talking to a king from India in I think maybe the 3rd century. Whenever Nagarjuna was around, 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. Nagarjuna lived a long time, apparently. So it's in that context, but we can bring it into present day life as well. Then he's following that when he talks about the practical actions that we can do to create goodness in the world. Then he talks about the practices that we can do that will deepen our understanding and realization of the Dharma, deepen our understanding and realization of what the wisdom wing is about. So that's what this session today is about. So we're starting with supporting sacred spaces and supporting the Dharma. We're starting at verse 231. So here's 231, 232 in the Jeffrey Hopkins translation. And remember, Nagarjuna is talking to the king. You should respectfully and extensively construct images of Buddha monuments and temples and provide residences, abundant riches, and so forth. Please construct from all precious substances images of Buddha with fine proportions, well designed, and sitting on lotuses, adorned with all precious substances. So in other words, he's saying, build and support beautiful sacred spaces. And we can take this we can think of it for ourselves this way too. Build and support beautiful sacred spaces. Temples, statues, places of practice that are crafted with care and respect for the Dharma and the teachers, the Dharma teachers, so that these places will inspire faith and will uplift our minds. So here's a commentary about creating environments that inspire awakening. Kensur Jampa Tekchok explains that this is not about luxury. I mean, when he's talking about, making these beautiful stupas and jewels and all of that, it's not about luxury. It's about reverence and respect for the Dharma itself. Sacred images and temples serve as visible reminders of awakening. They serve as visible reminders of the Dharma, visible reminders of the Buddhist path, that the Buddha existed, that the Buddha awoke, and that these teachings have been passed on by a lineage. So they serve as visible reminders of that, these images in the temples. So when someone walks into a very clean and dignified meditation room or meditation hall and sees a serene Buddha image there, their mind can shift instantly. It can. It can make a difference. And it does make a difference. In Nagarjuna's time, kings had the resources to build monasteries. Today, our equivalent might be something like supporting a Dharma center or sponsoring translation projects. There are many translation projects ongoing that can be sponsored. Helping to maintain a meditation space and funding educational scholarships for practitioners who need them. The key point is when we support the physical presence of the Dharma in the world, we are supporting countless future minds. The reason that we have the Dharma, that we're talking about this right now, is that it has been supported generation after generation, passed down, from India to Tibet. When the Chinese invaded Tibet, it came out into the world and the West, and it's been We've benefited from that. But it's all because it was respected, it was cared for, it was maintained, and it was passed on lineage to lineage. So when we continue to support the Dharma, we are continuing to support countless future minds that are, on this planet. So here's the next verse, 233. You should sustain with all endeavor the excellent doctrine and the communities of monastics, and decorate monuments with gold and jeweled friezes. In other words, protect and preserve the teachings and those who live by them, the monastics. Maintain sacred spaces and maintain those with care and dignity. So this is about protecting and maintaining what actually liberates us. There's a reason. There's a reason, because it's liberating us, the Dharma. In Nagarjuna's era, texts were very fragile. They were made out of palm leaves. Today, the fragility is different. Fragility is very often intellectual. We misunderstand the Dharma. We dilute the Dharma. Or there'll be a loss of lineage. So we're just sort of, reading books sort of in the dark, practicing Dharma, but not having lineage teachers like we've been so incredibly fortunate to have. Unbelievably fortunate. So these lineage teachers are our direct connection all the way back to the Buddha, from teacher to student to teacher to student. So fortunate that we have that. So supporting teachers and preserving the teachings is not just because, these are historical documents and isn't it good to support them? No, it's not. It's about compassion, and it's for the sake of sentient beings and sentient beings who will come after us. It's compassion for that. Moving the Dharma forward. This is what we're doing by preserving it across generations. Here's the next verses. Revere the monuments with gold and silver flowers, diamonds, corals, pearls, emeralds, cat's eye gems, and sapphires. It's a lot of stuff. Geshe Miма wants us to have a stupa here, and I'm looking at all of this going, I don't know. To revere, here's the next verse. To revere propounders of doctrine is to do what pleases them, offering goods and services and relying firmly on the doctrine. Listen to teachers with homage and respect, serve and pray to them. Always respectfully revere the other bodhisattvas. So what this is saying is, make offerings to sacred monuments. Support your teachers with what they genuinely need. Support your teachers with what they genuinely need. And then listen to these teachings with humility. Humility meaning, don't come to these teachings thinking we already know, because we don't. We really don't. So listen to the teachings with humility and respect, and you could even say, depending on where you're at, reverence for those teachings. So respect multiplies our wisdom. Respect opens our heart. Arrogance closes it. Thinking we know closes our heart. Khensur Jampa Tekchok emphasizes that we should offer material support to teachers so they can teach without hardship. It's pretty simple. This is why we would support Geshe Drapa, why we would support Geshe Nima, why we would support Venerable Rabina Kortman. It's so that they continue to teach without hardship. It's really quite simple. So then we should listen very attentively, not just casually, not like, here's just another thing to listen to, like going on the internet and looking at, some news thing, here's another thing to listen to. Don't. Listen very attentively, because this is about actually liberating us from our suffering. That's what it's about. It's not increasing our suffering, it's liberating us. So it's important that we listen, not casually to it. And then we serve We serve the Dharma and we serve the other teachers without ego. And this is very, very difficult because ego is what's running the show in samsara. So it's a big task for us to push against our own ego and look at our own mind and what it is we're doing and recognize the value of the Dharma, the value of the teachers, the value of the lineage, and just sort of lay the ego aside. It's work that we have to do. Here's the next verse. Oh, well, here's something else. Even in modern settings, like in Zoom teachings like this, or retreats or podcasts, our attitude matters. When we listen attentively and when we listen deeply, the teachings will penetrate our mind more fully.
Yeah, well, so this morning when I was doing my session, I had a metaphor, but I won't share it at this time. Because you mentioned that you have a lot to get through.
This is a lot. I think these particular first verses are, they're pretty self-explanatory. We can go through them fairly quickly, I think. Here's verse 237. You should not respect, revere, or pay homage to others, the forgers. The forgers are something like nihilists. Because through that, the ignorant would become enamored of the faulty. Or the forgers would be those who are giving teachings that are not talking about things like love, compassion, the emptiness of existence. There would be different kinds of teachings that would be confusing us and on our Dharma path. So the modern rendering is, do not publicly glorify misleading teachings because others may follow them without discernment, without knowing. If we say something great about some particular teacher who really has some problems, and other people go, oh yeah, well, if you think that's good, then I'll listen to them and whatever they say must be good. Because somebody coming to the Dharma new has a lot of trouble discerning the difference between what is authentic Dharma and what is not. And this is why we have to have these lineage teachers. That's why it matters. We really cannot do this on our own at all. We can't just do it by reading books. It won't work. Our minds are too, what's the word? Corrupted. Our minds are corrupted. So here, this is about discernment without hostility. This is not about intolerance, it's about responsibility. If leaders publicly endorse harmful views, others may adopt those views blindly because they think, well, the leader is endorsing this, it must be okay, right? If authority is saying it's okay, it must be okay. We need to use our brains. We need to use our logic. Nagarjuna advises to be polite, but to not promote views that undermine ethics, that undermine karma, cause and effect, dependent arising, or undermine the idea that we could actually become liberated from this, that we could truly become liberated from the suffering of cyclic existence. Some people will say, oh, that's baloney, no, don't pay attention to that. We have to be polite, but ignore that. All right, this next section is about supporting education and learning. Verses 238, 239. You should make donations of pages and books of the word of the king of subduers and to the treatises they gave rise to, along with their prerequisites, pens and ink. Remember, he's talking to a king. As ways to increase wisdom, wherever there is a school in the land, provide for the livelihood of teachers and give lands to them for their provision. Whoa! I mean, you hear how much Nagarjuna is honoring teachers here. I mean, it's huge. So, in modern talk, support the publication and study of sacred texts. Provide for teachers so education can flourish. And we're not, it's not even talking about necessarily Dharma teachers. Any teacher that is a very good teacher and can teach things that will help a society, uplift a society, those teachers are so important. Right now, it seems as if we undervalue them, and it's a huge mistake that we're making. And it's really important to hear what Nagarjuna has to say about that. So education, this is about education as compassion, as relief from suffering. Education. Supporting Dharma study, and now he's back to Dharma. Supporting Dharma study helps people understand karma. It helps us understand compassion and dependent arising. We can't just hear it once. We just cannot hear it once. We have to keep circling back to it, think about it, meditate, which means think about it, then hear more teachings on it, and then think about it again. And over time, it begins to coagulate into a clearer and clearer picture of what's being talked about when we're talking about karma and dependent arising. Then he also says supporting secular education helps societies function wisely. It's a tough one. So wisdom will grow where teachers are supported. Wisdom will not grow where teachers are not supported. So here are ways to use wealth, or use our wealth, for the collective good. Nagarjuna is now giving practical instructions for leaders. And even if we're not monarchs or presidents or something like that, we can adapt these principles in our own ways. Verse 240. In order to alleviate the suffering of sentient beings, the old, young, and infirm, you should establish through the estates that you control, doctors and barbers throughout your country. O one of good wisdom, please provide hostels, parks, dikes, ponds, rest houses, water vessels, beds, food, hay, and wood. So these are like public beneficial projects. He's telling the king to, support your public, give them the things they need. And, we've done, if you think about this particular country, we've done a lot of that. If we think of the national parks we have and the public facilities that we have, there's a lot that we have done that we should rejoice in it. It's good. It's good. There is more we could do, of course. But we shouldn't always be down on ourselves and our society. We should look for what's good. And then work to correct what is not. But always be upbeat, always be supportive. So this is about, provide healthcare, safe lodging, clean water, public spaces, and basic necessities for all, especially the vulnerable. And I think, it's in our hearts to want to do that. All we have to do is start doing it in any way we can, even in our yard, even in the yard with the animals, we can start doing it. So here's a commentary, and these are very condensed. Kensur Jampa explains that this is compassion as infrastructure. So you have there's a movement here. A friend of ours has worked on it with Ron Nierenberg when he was mayor, making San Antonio a compassionate city. So there are various compassionate cities throughout the country, and they have, a set of things that they do. And this is very much like this. So it has to do with healthcare access, safe travel, public rest areas, clean water. Just basic necessities here. This is what we start with. So in modern terms, we're talking about clinics, community housing, food banks, disaster relief. Merit will grow when we reduce systemic suffering. Our merit will grow, and the merit of everyone will grow when we reduce systemic suffering. Kavita knows about this. She's very good about this in terms of the property here in the yard and all of the animals and the wildlife that are living here. And so always thinking, how do we support their habitat? How do we not ruin their habitat? How can we live together with everything in harmony in a way that everything is functioning and beneficial? And it's not that easy. It's not that easy. You really have to work at it. And you have to be very conscious of what you're doing. And all of us can do that in our particular own spaces. Here's the next verses. Please establish rest houses in all towns, at temples, and in all cities, and provide water vessels on all arid roadways. Always care compassionately for the sick, the unprotected, those stricken with suffering, the lowly, and the poor, and take special care to nourish them. So create safe, supportive spaces. Care for the vulnerable with dignity and compassion. Don't just look the other way, in other words. I know Rabina will say, if you see someone on the street, sitting with a homeless person sitting there and they're, needs some money, give it. Whatever you have, give it. Be very generous with it. You can always, get more. But be very generous and be very giving, because that will make such an impression on that person's mind who feels completely abandoned and destitute. Just that somebody actually, there are people out there who actually care and will, give whatever they can, And Rabina says always be as generous as you can with it. If you have $20, give them $20. So this is about help with not being condescending. We're recognizing the equal connection that we have with all beings without being condescending. So to help as if it was yourself. To help someone as if it was yourself, the way you'd want to be helped. Put yourself in their place and do what you can. So compassion, if we're going to develop compassion, then that compassion has to and must preserve dignity. It can't be condescending compassion. It can't be. It won't work. That's not compassion. Now, here are the next verses, 244 through 247. Until you have given to monastics and beggars seasonally appropriate food and drink, as well as produce, grain, and fruit, you should not partake of them. So in other words, give it to those ones first. Give it to the ones who need it first. At the sites of the water vessels, place shoes, umbrellas, water filters, tweezers for removing thorns, needles, thread, and fans. So it's like so he's saying, make little stations for people when they're traveling, where they can, mend their clothes, have some shoes, have some water, rest areas. And, we do have these things, quite to this extent, not with tweezers and needles.
But have toilets.
But we have rest areas like that. We have done things like that in this country, and it's wonderful. I mean, I know many of you have traveled, and many of you have traveled to third world countries, and many of you know those kinds of things don't exist there. not the way they do here. They're, in some cases you're taking your life and health into your hands to, go into one of these toilets in another country. Having experienced it myself. So let's see. Within vessels, place the 3 medicinal fruits. What those are: butter, honey, eye medicines, and antidotes to poison, and write out mantras and prescriptions. It's interesting when Geshe Sopa was staying here. He was so into that. He would put mantras everywhere. He was putting mantras. Unfortunately, he was putting mantras on our neighbor's tree and our neighbor's property. So, when he left, I decided that maybe it would be best not to.
You can't see it, but it's still there.
It's still there, though. It's covered, but it's still there. But he would do that. He would just put mantras everywhere on rocks and things like that. But Brian knows this at his house. He did that. Paintings, things like that. So he definitely, Geshe Sopa was into this. Also write out prescriptions. We're talking 3rd, 2nd century here, so whatever that is. At the sides of the vessels, place salves for the body, feet, and head, as well as wool, stools, gruel, jars for getting water, cooking pots, axes, and so forth. So, provide what people need. So modern rendering here is share with others before you consume. Provide practical necessities, food, clothing, tools, and medicine, so others can thrive. And so if you can, I mean, if there are places you can do that, things like that, give to food banks or something like that. There are facilities that exist for these kinds of things.
Could think of a bird feeder or a bird bath.
Yeah, but in terms of the animals, exactly.
I mean, you could turn it in, you could do the practice.
Mhm. It's not just other humans, in other words. It's all living beings. So offer to others first, then partake. When we're generous, what generosity does is it purifies attachment. Attachment clings and wants it, mine, needs it, I need it. Oh, you took my peace, right? Generosity gets rid of attachment. Generosity is an antidote to attachment. It purifies it. So also provide what is practical and useful, not just something symbolic, but something that's actually effective, beneficial, that will help. Here's 248 and 252. Please have small containers in the shade filled with sesame, rice, grains, foods, molasses, and suitable water. I love this one. This next one. At the openings of anthills, please have trustworthy persons always put food, water, sugar, and piles of grain. And immediately I'm thinking of all these fire ant piles that we've got around the yard, and normally what we want to do is destroy, kill the fire ants. And I'm thinking, wow, I bet you they maybe there's some good purpose they're serving, and why should we? I mean, we've already stopped trying to destroy the fire ants, unless it's going to be,
More or less, yeah.
unless it's going to be somewhere where there is a child or people are hanging out, and they're I mean, they can be quite dangerous.
Do you
But-
know why they just singled out angels and why not other?
What? No, there is no explanation of why.
Okay.
I thought well, that's why I thought it was so interesting. But
Yeah.
certainly we can relate, right? I mean, maybe it's
Would you
because
consider
like
Amdro
Well-
food?
Amdro is a food I will. It may appear to be one, but
It's not my fault if they eat it.
yeah. I mean, maybe it's because ants are so small, that we think they don't matter.
I mean, they clean up the environment, so that's what I'm wondering.
yeah. I
I
mean, they serve a function. Yeah.
Flies.
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. Here's another one. Before and after taking food, always appropriately offer fare to hungry ghosts. Now, those are beings from another realm of existence, like ghosts, right? Who are needing. Offer them to the ghosts, dogs, ants, birds, and so forth. Provide extensive care for the persecuted, the victims of crop failure, the stricken, those suffering contagion, and for beings in conquered areas. Now, we could do a lot more of that. There have, in the past, we have, our country has been known for helping, people in, war zones, stricken areas, bringing medicine and we could do more of that, and we could do a better job of that. And so could other countries that are, that have the resources to do that. Because when I just think of over the past 2 years, that has not occurred.
One thing that comes to mind that it's not my own idea. I just heard this in the last few days is that we also, in addition to having that expectation of our country that we can take immediate, direct action. We don't want to get into a state of mind where we push that responsibility onto
Yeah.
a government,
Mm.
because then what it does is it externalizes it in a way that's not realistic, in terms of
Well, and also in the past, people have been very supportive and giving money to Red Cross and things like that.
There's an example in, I don't recall what the natural disaster was, but it turned out that the nearby Amish were building faster than government systems could. So the Amish just took it upon themselves to create temporary shelter for It was somewhere, like
Yeah.
in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's really wonderful. I mean, when communities do
I mean,
that.
so, I mean, and
Yeah.
the other thing it does too is let me put it this way. If we don't feel a personal responsibility, then complaining about our government is hollow hollow.
Mm. Yeah,
It's sort of,
the government is supposed to represent us, so
right, well,
and if they're not
I
representing
mean, I don't
us,
think any country we would say that that's really good, but,
Yeah.
just thinking about it in the, you know, a big example would be, that's really relevant right now is, offering shelter yourself. Don't always think it's the job of some organized government program,
Mm.
because what that does is, again, sets you up for, and to me, in my opinion, it sets you up to push the solutions to everything outside of yourself.
These are, good.
Question.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you about the Hungry Ghost,
Mhm.
providing for the Hungry Ghost. Would you explain that, or just
I
comment?
agree. So how Buddhism talks about when we, due to our karma, we land in various realms of existence. This is a realm of existence that we're in right now. It's an appearance to the consciousness and the so every consciousness has, as we've talked about before, a different perception, a different view of things. And depending on the species you are, so you could think of various realms of existence as different kinds of species of beings that are born there. So a hungry ghost is in a realm that is, you could say, perhaps more subtle than this one, but they are constantly, due to their attachment and craving, which was the karma, they're constantly craving and never getting satisfied. So it's like a ghost-like being that can never, ever find satisfaction. And that's why the monks will often make offerings. It's sort of energetically symbolic offerings of food to these beings that are just craving constantly. And it's just a way of trying to connect with them and let them know that there is help and that their situation can change. And sometimes we just have to ride out whatever karma we have generated. If we haven't done anything to purify that karma, some of the practices that we've been given.
Did you, while I was in the restroom, did you mention the cause for a rebirth as a hunter?
Yeah, we did.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Thank you. That explains. I used to think of Hungry Ghosts. I guess I really hadn't thought of it as a specific realm. I was thinking of it as people, as humans have a tendency to be that, and some more than others, but just always grasping outside of ourselves. So that it explains it.
Well, and that would be, people like that, that would be, if they kept that up, and that would, when they were reborn, they'd be reborn into a realm that just was a result of that constant, grasping, and never being satisfied.
Mhm.
So, yeah. Provide stricken farmers with seeds and sustenance. So he's basically saying care for animals, feed the hungry, provide disaster relief, support farmers, and rebuild communities like, the Amish was helping to do. So compassion includes not just other people, it includes animals and ecosystems. And we need to think along those lines. So we want to help famine victims, war victims, and farmers. And if this generosity, if we can add this sense of bodhicitta to it, this intention to become enlightened for the benefit of all sentient beings as part of our bodhicitta intention, then that merit will become vast. It will become vast because the intention is for all sentient beings, which is huge. We have no idea how huge that could be. We really don't. We tend to be very myopic and thinking everything is just this planet, but our teachers assured us it's not. I mean, I remember Geshe Dharma said, "Don't worry if about this planet. Don't worry. about this planet, ruining itself. There are plenty of other systems that you can be born into within this vast universe. So that's another thing to think about. When we do these things with this intention of bodhicitta, then the merit is vast that we're generating. Here's the next couple. Eliminate high taxes levied by the previous monarch. Reduce the tax rate on harvests. Protect the poor from the pain of wanting your wealth. Set up no new tolls and reduce those that are heavy. It's like nothing has changed. Also, free traders from other areas who come from other areas from the afflictions that come from waiting at your door with their petitions unanswered. Eliminate robbers and thieves in your own and others' countries. I don't know, it doesn't say how to eliminate them, just says eliminate them. In your own and others' countries. Please set prices fairly and keep profits level, even during scarcity. These are all translated from the Sanskrit that was from the Tibetan. It's sort of interesting how modern it is. You should know full well the counsel that your ministers offer to you, and should always enact it if it nurses the world. Just as you are intent on thinking of what could be done to help yourself, so you should be intent on thinking of what could be done to help others. So it's saying govern fairly, reduce burdens, eliminate corruption, listen wisely, care for others as you care for yourself. It goes back to what Kavita said, if we're not happy with our government, then we should stop just complaining, and we should actually do something about it. And if we're not happy with either sides of the government, then we should also think about, well, what else, what new thing could we do here? We should take it into our own hands, in other words,
I just
in the ways that we can.
yeah, I was just the interpretation of what you just said could be,
I'm not talking about overthrowing.
And also it could be that it's somehow going to be solved by voting. What I'm saying is, what I was saying was, if you're not happy with how your government is providing some of these compassionate services, don't complain about it. Just do your part in the immediate way that you can. I think we're a little bit we are conditioned by the way media has made the whole world available to us, that we have become habituated to thinking of that the importance of things is bigger than our immediate circle of contacts, or we used to use the term circle of influence, but
your own neighborhood,
your family, your friends, your partner, your animals, your property.
If everybody did that,
the things that you have, just like this king, things that you have domain over.
Yeah.
So if you're not happy with your government, do something about it. Isn't about overthrowing the government or you're going to fix it. It's about just forget about them. It's not, do your immediate thing.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Build it from the ground up, and don't.
We've been trying for all of recorded history to solve it from the top down, and the people who enjoy that continue to stoke that view of how it works.
Yeah. Okay, govern fairly. No, we already read that. Okay. Ethical governance. If governance is ethical, then it will build collective merit. And we'll just leave that there. On a personal level, we should listen carefully. We should act fairly. We should reduce harm where we can. Like we just said, consider others' welfare as equal to our own. This is where the wisdom teachings come in, when we recognize how we actually are connected. Recognize others' welfare as equal to our own. The next verses. if only for a moment. Make yourself available for the use of others, just as earth, water, fire, wind, medicine, and forests are available for all. Here's an interesting thing that needs to be explained. Even during their 7th step, merit measureless as the sky is generated in bodhisattvas whose attitude is to give all wealth away. So the 7th step, just after a bodhisattva takes birth in the lifetime in which they will attain full enlightenment, they take 7 steps and declare that this will be their final life as a samsaric being. So that's what it's saying. Even during their 7th step, merit measureless as the sky is generated in bodhisattvas whose attitude is to give all wealth away. So basically offer yourself like the elements, freely and without reservation. Even the intention, just having the intention to give everything, creates vast, immeasurable merit, according to Nagarjuna and Cancer Tetrarch. So if we cannot yet give fully, cultivate the aspiration, may all I have benefit others. That aspiration alone, just the aspiration, will build vast merit. May all I have benefit others. Instead of the other way around. Well, I need to hold on to it and protect it and leave it only to those I want to leave it to. So now we come to probably what is the most difficult passage in this, and it's about a radical kind of generosity that needs to be put in context, historical context. So here's the verse. If you give to those so seeking, girls of beauty well adorned, you will thereby attain thorough retention of the excellent doctrine. Formerly, the subduer, that would be the Buddha, provided along with every need and so forth, 80,000 girls with all adornments, perfumes, garlands, and enjoyments. So in ancient times, giving maidens in marriage with full dowries was considered a supreme act of generosity. Such acts that are performed without attachment were said to create extraordinary merit and clarity of mind. I think even today in India, there are, girls are given to the families with huge dowries. I mean, it's part of this has lasted in up to modern times. So these verses, understandably, can feel very jarring to modern readers. Kensur Jampa carefully explains the historical context. In ancient India, kings had guardianship over unmarried women of marriageable age. Providing them in marriage with full dowries, clothing, jewelry, and security was seen as a profound act of generosity and social responsibility. So the commentary emphasizes that these were not acts of exploitation. The women were provided with everything needed for support, and the act reflected total freedom from attachment, not ownership. From a modern human rights perspective, we reject the notion of giving people away. That reaction is healthy, that we feel that way. But anthropologically, we must see the point of the story. The Buddha in past lives gave without attachment, even what most people cling to most tightly, their own family. So the lesson here is not about gender or ownership. The lesson is about freedom from attachment, if looked at in the right way. Kensur Jampa notes that Bodhisattva's generosity is beyond our current capacity. So we just begin where we are. We cultivate bodhicitta, we practice generosity gradually, and we reduce our attachment step by step. The question really isn't, would I give a family member away? The question really is, where is my attachment strongest? What's my strongest attachment? And that's where our practice begins. For each one of us. So I thought that was a very interesting
That's a good point.
point of using that verse that way. Now we go to practical generosity and skillful needs. Verse 261. Lovingly give to beggars various and glittering clothes, adornments, perfumes, garlands, and enjoyments. So give generously and kindly, offering good quality things, not leftovers. Give respectfully, not carelessly. Give without seeking praise or, acknowledgement. And watch one's own motivation really carefully when we do this. It's not about self-aggrandizement at all. It's about seeing others equally. If you provide facilities for those most deprived who lack the means to study the doctrine, there is no greater gift than that. That's verse 262. So helping others gain access to the Dharma is the highest form of generosity. So supporting someone's spiritual growth benefits countless beings. The gift of Dharma surpasses material gifts. Then verse 263 and 264. Even give poison to those whom it will help, but do not give even the best food to those whom it will not help. Just as it is said that it will help to cut off a finger bitten by a snake, so the subduer, the Buddha, says that if it helps others, one should even bring temporary discomfort. So give what truly helps, even if it's unpleasant. Don't give what harms, even if it seems kind. It's
This is a big one.
it's a really big one.
This guy, I was thinking about enabling relationships and families and
Mhm.
what looks like kindness and what looks like being unkind. And,
Yeah, but what's really,
and there's lots of ways.
help people in ways that they need to be helped. Yeah, in order to, and so that takes a lot of contemplation.
Read it again, please.
Give what truly helps, even if it is unpleasant. Do not give what harms, even if it seems kind. So the original verses is even give poison to those whom it will help, but do not give even the best food to those whom it will not help. So in some cases, it's sort of like you have a small bit of poison will do the trick on what needs to be solved within the body, per se. Whereas if you gave the person rich, delicious food, it would only aggravate it.
Mhm.
So we have to be wise about how we are generous, in other words, and how we give. It's not just,
Right.
give the finest whatever vodka to an alcoholic. That's not going to help them. But for somebody else, they think wow, thank you, this is great, I love it. Has no
One of
attachment.
my favorite, I've probably used this story 1,000 times in class. Because I was feeling very upset about a Dharma issue, and I went to go ask Venerable Robina for her advice. And it was 4 words. One of them was what we would call a nasty word.
It was the F word.
But,
It was, Kavita, just effing do it. And sometimes, that seems harsh. It seems harsh, but I'll be honest with you. I've had the same experience, and that harshness shakes you up and makes you look at
oh, well,
yourself.
whenever I get into the same frame of mind about,
Yeah.
I'll just say that sometimes when we take on all these particular practices that our teachers give us, you can over the years accumulate a rather long list of things that you're suggested to do every day. And so, it's good sometimes to just have that slap across the face.
Well, and find ways to do it that
Yeah,
condense it.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So give what truly helps. Compassion has to be guided by wisdom. This is basically talking about that. our giving or our compassion, or it has to be guided by wisdom. We can be, if compassion doesn't have wisdom, so many mistakes can be made. So many mistakes. So sometimes long-term benefit requires a little short-term discomfort when we're being compassionate. So it's to learn skillful means really matters. And skillful means then brings us right to the wisdom. Now we're talking about the wisdom part. He's going into what he calls 25 branches of wisdom. So these are practical, there's things we can do, and they're transformative as well. Verse 265, you should respect most highly the excellent doctrine and its proponents. You should listen reverently to the doctrine and also impart it to others. So honor the Dharma and honor those who teach it, listen deeply, and share what you learn. Respect the teachings physically and mentally. When listening, such as what Kavita just said, or I was talking about, with teachers sometimes, when listening, set aside your pride. Just set it aside. And what they say to you, take it as a teaching. Especially these lineage teachers. Honestly, when I think about Robina, she was like so close to Lama Yeshe, who was so close to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, who did so much to bring the Dharma into the world. So, you have to listen to a teacher like that, who has something that is rough to say to you, because they're doing it to help you. So respect them, set aside pride, listen without distraction. Don't approach teachings casually, approach them as life-changing. The teachings are life-changing. Share the Dharma responsibly, preserve texts, create libraries, support teachers. Wisdom will grow in a mind that honors and respects the wisdom, respects the truth. If you take it for granted, it won't grow. We really have to value it and see the value of it and really honor it. Take no pleasure in worldly talk. Take delight in what passes beyond the world. Cause good qualities to grow in others in the same way you wish them for yourself. So it's saying avoid gossip and idle talk. Take delight in meaningful conversations. Encourage others' spiritual growth. Idle chatter scatters the mind. This is why idle chatter is considered one of the 10 non-virtuous actions. Idle chatter scatters the mind. It often leads to gossip, which can damage relationships, and often does damage relationships. Excessive idle talk detracts from real, meaningful communication with others, which can lead to misunderstandings and then a culture of kind of superficial communication. Everybody's talking about things that really don't have to really personally do with them, but it's all this superficial stuff that we're just repeating what we've heard, and then the other person's repeating what they've heard, and it breaks down actual genuine communication. It's just a superficial kind of communication. And so, what that does, the result of that is a lack of connection among individuals. When we're all superficially talking, chattering about this and that really is not that important, then it breaks down actual meaningful communication. And if we become habituated to that, we become isolated, ultimately isolated. So that's the problem with that. So strive to communicate more mindfully and more purposefully. Delight in discussing things like bodhicitta, emptiness, compassion, the Dharma path. Delight in all of that, because that's the thing that's going to liberate us from all of the suffering and problems that we're experiencing within ourselves. Now, so also encourage others' good qualities. Wisdom will grow when we have a shared aspiration for goodness. So encourage everybody else's good qualities. Don't reinforce the bad ones, encourage the good ones. Here's the next verse. Please do not be satisfied with doctrine heard, but retain and discriminate meanings. Please always be intent on offering presents to teachers. So it's saying, never think that you've heard enough, Dharma. Never think that you've heard enough. Always deeply reflect on what you have heard. Support your teachers. They say to be like an ocean that can always take on more water. The ocean can always take on more water. So never feel like you're too full of the Dharma. Like, oh, I've had all the Dharma I could take. That's not true. The Dharma is, I remember our friend Carolyn Swan. She said the Dharma is, and she had been a practitioner since the early 60s. And she said the Dharma is vast and you are never done with it. It keeps opening up, it keeps expanding. You know, the more you learn, the more you see there is to learn. The more it gets clearer and clearer, and you see how incredibly big it is. So never think that I've heard the Dharma, I've heard those teachings. You know, I don't need to listen again. You'll find these old monks in their 80s and 90s still going to the same teachings they've heard over and over again. Say, like His Holiness is giving a teaching on Jataka tales, and they've heard Jataka tales since they were little boys. They're still going because there's always something new to glean from those teachings, especially if you continue to practice and expand your understanding. You're always going to find new stuff in the Dharma. Okay, so our wisdom will deepen when we reflect on the teachings. Do not recite the books of worldly nihilists. Forsake debating in the interest of pride. Basically, forsake having arguments in the interest of your pride that you want to win. Do not praise your own good qualities. Speak of the good qualities even of your foes. So avoid views that undermine karma and ethics. Debate without ego. Don't boast. And rejoice in others' good qualities. Protect your faith in the Dharma. When you debate with others or have an argument with others, do it to clarify the truth, not to win the argument. Speak of others' good qualities to dissolve jealousy and pride. Jealousy can lead to anxiety, insecurity, and anger. Pride can be harmful when it leads to arrogance, a sense of superiority, and a lack of compassion for others. Humility fosters better relationships, encourages openness to feedback, and reduces defensiveness, which leads to personal growth. Humility supports the development of wisdom. Verse 269. When debating, do not attack to the quick. Do not talk about others with bad intent. Individually analyze your own mistakes yourself. So self-examination, they're saying, is essential. Seeing others' faults is so easy. We all know that. So drop it, really. It's too easy. Seeing our own faults is the thing that requires the courage. It's the thing that we actually need to be doing. Honest introspection transforms our relationship, and it will transform our practice. Honest introspection transforms our relationships, and it will transform our practice. Next verse. You should root out completely from yourself the faults that the wise decry in others, and through your influence also cause others to do the same. So remove your own faults and inspire others to do likewise. No, do the self-examination first, remove your faults, and then help others to do the same for themselves. So lead by example. Quiet integrity influences and inspires others far more deeply than criticism does. Quiet integrity influences and inspires others far more deeply than criticism does. That's something to think about. Next verse. Considering the harm others do to you as created by your former deeds, do not get angry. Act such that further suffering will not be created and your own faults will disappear. So when harmed, don't react with anger. Respond in a way that stops future suffering, stops your future suffering. Stop it. Don't respond with the anger. Cancer Jampa highlights 4 practices that we should do when, when we're harmed or we're going to react, right? Don't insult back. That's number 1. Do not insult back. Number 2, do not strike back. Number 3, do not get angry back. And number 4, don't counter blame. And how familiar are all of these? I mean, it's almost like second nature to us, right? So this is really something to look at, and next time something comes up, have these in your head. Somebody, wait, don't insult back, don't strike back, don't get angry, and don't counter blame. So have fortitude. So fortitude is the ability to endure difficult situations with patience and resilience. That's what fortitude is. It's more than just patience, but you're able to endure difficult situations with patience and resilience. And so they're saying to develop this kind of fortitude in your Dharma practice. This is not going to happen all overnight. We're going to have to practice this. We're going to have to read it, reread it, study it, think about it. All right, here's the next verse. Without hope of reward, provide help to others. Bear suffering alone and share your pleasures with beggars. So help without expecting anything in return. Don't expect to have your name be put on a building because you helped somebody. Just let go of that. Endure hardship without complaint. And share your joy generously. Now, again, this comes back to karma. If you're experiencing some kind of hardship, recognize that it is your karmic appearance. And so if you're just going to complain about it, what is that helping you do? It's just generating the karma to complain more, to be a whiner. Do something to stop the hard, whatever created that hardship in the past. Change your way. Think of it not as somebody else's fault, but your own appearance of your karma. And that will change a lot. It really will change a lot. You'll stop blaming others. It's a different view. It's a completely different view. I think it's a very mature one. And I think from my own experience, it actually helps. It actually works. Rather than blame the person who molested you, take it on as, wow, that's my karmic appearance. I must have done something like that to somebody. And wow, this is not good, and I will never, ever do this again. And, thank you for showing me that. And it releases you from being a victim, is what it does. It releases you from being a victim, and that's huge power. All right. So, accept hardship as karma ripening. And be generous, because generosity will multiply your happiness. Here's the next one. We're getting close, folks. Pretty good, because this was a lot of stuff. Do not be inflated, even by the prosperity of gods. Do not be depressed, even by the poverty of hungry ghosts. In other words, don't be arrogant in success or despairing in hardship. Conditions rise and fall. Maintain emotional stability throughout the rise and fall of all these conditions. It's just what they do. So practice both when you're feeling you're in abundance, and also be practicing when you're feeling you're in scarcity. Practice is for both of those. I think Geshe Tetrach said a lot of times, Practice goes out the window when people have huge abundance. They think, wow, okay, I hit it. I don't need to practice anymore. Or it goes out the window when they're experiencing really, really difficult times and they go, oh, well, that didn't help. And so he's saying, don't let that practice go, because it's the practice that's going to keep you emotionally stable throughout those times. Here's the next one. For your sake, always speak the truth. Even should it cause your death or ruin your governance, do not speak in any other way. Always observe the discipline of actions, just as it has been explained. In that way, O glorious one, when he says, O glorious one, he's talking to the king, you will become the best of authoritative beings upon the earth. So speak truth, even at a great cost. Keep your ethical commitments. Integrity makes you trustworthy. It makes you strong. Truth builds long-term trust. Follow through on commitments. Integrity is the foundation of wisdom. Here's verse 276. You should always analyze well everything before you act. And through seeing things correctly as they are, do not put full reliance on others. Reflect carefully before acting. Examine your motivation for acting. And cultivate your own discernment. Don't expect others to do it for you. Cultivate your own discernment. This is why studying the Dharma, practicing the Dharma, is so important for our personal liberation from suffering. Before acting, ask yourself, is this motivated by attachment? Is this thing I'm about to do motivated by anger? Is this action I'm about to take motivated by pride? Is it motivated by jealousy? Ask yourself before the action occurs what it is that's motivating you to feel you need to say that thing, do that thing, act on that thing. Look at your motivation. If the motivation is clear, if it's pure, and don't fool yourself, then okay. But if it's not, as Rabina says, keep your lips zipped and you answer yourself, and don't do it. And think and look at your mind. Look at your mind. So prevent mistakes before they occur. When we cultivate discernment, we no longer depend blindly on others to do it for us. And this is a very mature kind of wisdom. It's like I was saying, when you take on the responsibility for your karma and are no longer feeling like you're the victim, it's a very mature way to handle something, and it actually works. It makes all the difference. So here's a final reflection. And this session is actually showing us something that's quite wonderful. The path of Dharma isn't some kind of abstraction. It's actually real stuff that we do. I mean, building clinics, feeding animals, supporting teachers, speaking the truth, examining our own mind, responding without anger. This is all stuff that the Dharma is helping us to do. So when we accumulate this merit, which is, what do you call it? Compassion in action, love in action, the method aspect of the path in action. When we accumulate merit, that will stabilize the world. It will stabilize our world. When we accumulate wisdom, that will liberate our mind. It will liberate our mind from wrong thinking, mistaken thinking, the thinking that causes all the suffering that we experience. So that's what wisdom will do. So we need to examine our own mind. We need to respond without anger, without jealousy, without pride. I mean, really look at it. So, and every single one of these practices, we can begin with them today. We can do it with joy. We don't have to do it with pressure. We have all the time in the universe to do this. But, why not do it sooner than later, because it would just make our experience of our existence so much better. So the vast collections of merit and wisdom are not, they're not burdens. They're actually opportunities that we have. We have 10 minutes. Any discussion on any of this?
I do have a question about the first 268 where it says you shouldn't study other philosophical systems. Doesn't it sort of contradict that you shouldn't just blindly believe in it, that you should test it? Shouldn't you, don't you have to study other systems to sort of have that dialogue?
Yeah, I think what they were saying is don't follow them, you know, don't follow those other systems, especially if you are, if you're in a position of authority, in other words, and you know that a particular system is not, you know, the best one or something, don't recommend it to somebody. This is what they were saying. Of course, we need to know about nihilism. We need to know what it is. We need to study lots of things to understand what the difference is between Dharma and some of these other systems. If we can't compare, you're absolutely right. We have nothing to measure.
You know,
we have to see the
and
difference.
sort of to your, that's the study of the four schools of tenets. It's sort of like a systematic way they do exactly that, Claudia.
Yeah.
You know, the Galugs have this, you know, formula of looking at all the different Indian philosophies through this format that they labeled the four tenets.
And the interesting thing about that study,
and it's like, you know, they're exactly like you say,
is those differences can get even more and more subtle as you go on up to the highest view according to Buddhism. It's to clarify the differences between these various schools can get more and more subtle, and it takes more understanding of the various schools and the understanding of the higher school to understand what the difference is and what the subtle difference is, especially when you get into what they call the Chittamatra school and the Prasangika school. They're very, very subtle. I remember Geshe Drakpa told us for a long time he felt Prasangika. That was the best one. I mean, not Prasangika, Chittamatra, the mind only. He thought that was the best school, and he said it wasn't until later that he did more meditation and study and analyzing that he realized there was a flaw there. So each one, when we go through, and Kavita's point is really well taken, and it's kind of what you're saying. As it's important for us to understand these various schools of philosophy.
But it's also like, I mean, the Western philosophies, I mean, there are quite a few different, very different schools that are, see reality very differently from Buddhism.
Yeah, which is then again when I was going back to logic, you know, logic. Look at science, look at current science. Is it backing up some of the things that were not available to us before? You know,
something that your question, Claudia, makes me think about something pervasive in our human experience related to how we learn language, how we learn about the presence of information in the most pervasive, you know, broad sense. Like we come into a lifetime with systems that are presenting information and philosophy, you know, in the form of philosophies and mathematics and sciences. And I mean, we sort of take for granted in a really interesting way that these are the ways that it could be. It's sort of an interesting,
well,
especially when you then go, well, if I was a dragonfly, what would I be thinking about this? You know?
well, and there also, when you talk about science, it's always developing.
Yeah.
It's not static. I mean, it's always developing.
Do you have any comments on that, Claudia, or that sort of, you know,
Say this again.
you know, just the amazing experience of being a human being in some scientific system, political system, societal system, and how conditioned it is already just coming into the study of things.
Well, but I mean, it's sort of over time. I mean, when you go to like middle school and high school, you learn things sort of as facts. And then later on, when you continue studying this, I mean, you realize that there are contradictions in a lot of different things. And I think that's sort of what I'm referring to, that I think it's necessary to really engage with the other different types of philosophies to really understand like what makes the most sense. I mean, not that it's necessarily correct. I mean, I think there's always this issue that we can't really decide fully that's the absolute truth. I mean, it's always an issue with human thinking, but at least
Yeah.
engaging with it, never mind the enjoyment of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we have to engage in it if we're actually serious about finding out, what is going on. We have to keep engaging.
It's kind of weird because we also, I mean, we have to look into this. Let's say in our case, or in my case, I'm interested in adopting this particular Buddhist philosophy, say. Well, I don't even know what it is fully. I mean, the fact is, I don't really understand it fully. I mean, I have some little bits and pieces of information that I think I understand, but the whole enterprise is rather overwhelming, really. But you just gotta,
Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of weird.
you go, for me, I go step by step based on, did that thing make sense? Did that thing kind of work? Did this particular, Dharma practice, is that doing something to my mind? And when I see, yeah, it is, then I have confidence. I develop confidence. When I compare, say, current physics to some of the things that have been said in Buddhism, and I can see there is a relation there, and I go, wow, it's just a short shift to see that, oh, well, we're talking about Buddhist physics as well here, so there's logic involved, and that always helps me to look at other things, especially current science, because the current science is striving to get at what's the nature of reality. Of course they are, for the most part, I think. There could be money issues, but
Okay, Brian Bales, everybody, just so you know, posted a beautiful practice from Sem Rinpoche. Is that Sem Tulku Rinpoche?
oh, is that the
The one that passed.
one path, the other guy? Yeah.
It's Lama Sopa,
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
but it was on that website. But
Okay.
it's a little booklet that I got a while back. That's really, really cool. But just about the ant, a practice about
Oh yeah.
giving generosity to ants.
Okay.
He'd be the one, wouldn't he, Lama Zopa?
Yeah.
He was so known for that. Oh, wow.
So y'all, oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
How to make charity of food to the creature ants.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. You are always full of good things.
Well, 2 minutes. You want to?
Yeah, just for anybody who is here in San Antonio, maybe I should post. There's this afternoon every year this San Antonio Peace Center, who we are striving to have them do some work when Geshe Nim is here, be the host of some presentations that he'll do. But in any case, they have their annual blessing of the peacemakers this afternoon. And if you're interested in that, I'm gonna just real quick. Oh, never mind. I can't do that. But if you go to the San Antonio Peace Center and you're interested, you'll see that. Christopher and I are gonna go.
Sort of as representatives
Really,
of this center.
because of our interest in continuing to cultivate that relationship.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I thought would be interesting to note the full moon is Tuesday, so that is also the conclusion of Losar, and so you still have 3 days of merit multiplying days left to do all your good deeds.
Get them in now.
And enjoy the full moon on Tuesday, but they do say, and I personally have found it to be valid, that things have a special energy.
There is some kind of energy going on during a full moon. My mother sure experienced it. Yeah. So who knows what it is? Hey. Closing prayers? How about you, Don? Want to do some closing prayers?
Sure. We'll start with the long life. In the snowy mountain paradise, you're the source of all goodness and happiness. Powerful Tenzin and Rezik, may you stay until samsara ends. And then the final dedication. In all my lives, may I not be separated from true laws, and so enjoy the splendor of Dharma, fully perfecting the virtues of levels and paths. May I speedily attain the state of Vajrayana.
Okay. We did it. Thank you. Hey. Talk to you all next time. It was a pleasure.
Wow.
Thank you, Christopher.
Oh,
It was
Great
great.
class.
Okay, see you guys later. I will